Hello, teachers, and welcome back to Teachers Help Teachers. I'm your host, Esther Yoon, and with me today, you might remember her, another familiar face, Erica Lundy. Thanks for being here, Erica.
Good morning.
I invited Erica today to talk about National Board Certification with me. So, what is it? National Board Certification is a voluntary advanced teaching credential that goes beyond state licensure. NBC has national standards for what accomplished teachers should know and be able to do. For me, when I first heard of NBC, it was 18 years ago when an esteemed colleague of mine was working on her certification. Just recently, a favorite friend, an accomplished teacher, earned hers. Here she is with us today, Erica Lundy, NBCT. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. And I'm looking at my notes here and just seeing it on paper. And Erica Lundy, NBCT. It just makes me so proud of you. So you've encouraged me, Erica, to go for it. And it got me very curious about it. I want to be among that company of teachers, right? Like you and the other that I just described. And I'm sure that among our audience, there are people who are on the fence about starting their journey for their national board certification. So let's talk about it. Erica, what made you decide to pursue it? It is voluntary, right? So can you recall that process and share that with us?
Yes. So as you had said just, a couple seconds ago, that one of your esteemed colleagues had gone through this process. And I had the same experience. All of the teachers that I respected as mentors and, incredibly accomplished teachers had this one thing in common, right? They all had these letters after their names. And I thought, if these teachers sought out this experience, maybe this is something that I should take a closer look at. These were women and men that had mentored me in my career and had also, really just had that stamp of, gosh, they're such great teachers. And to look and see as a growing professional, what do they all have in common? To actually find something so concrete was like, well, I should maybe take a closer look at this. And then a few years ago, a colleague of mine was going through the process, and it kind of clicked, and I said, well, if you're doing it, this is not something to achieve in the future anymore. This is maybe something I should be looking at now, right? And how do you decide when that time is for you, right? Is this the time for me to do it? Is this not the time for me to do it? For me personally, right? It's the question everybody is thinking about. For me, it was, I had already gotten my master's degree in a subject that was really near and dear to my heart in elementary education. And, I'm like many, one of those continuous learners. The thought of getting stagnant in my own education as a teacher is kind of frightening, because then I become kind of a teacher who's, not familiar with what's going on in the world, who doesn't have her pulse on current, trends in education. And scrolling on those teacher, websites wasn't cutting it for me anymore. I mean, there's much to be gained from that, especially from your program. There's much to be gained, but I needed something that was a little more personalized, and looking for a way to increase my own growth as a teacher beyond traditional professional development. And there's a lot of us teachers who really hunger for a personalized professional development approach. And for some, the path is going on and getting maybe a PhD or something more, a higher level like that. But for me, the timing really wasn't good for something like that, going to get a PhD. Whereas for me, looking for a really personalized way of refining my craft, national boards seem to be that fit. we are really, really good as teachers differentiating for our students. We're really good at making sure kids get what they need. But when it comes to professional development, I think our profession has some work to do in escaping that kind of one size fits all professional development for teachers. And National Board for me was the way to do that. It was a really personalized approach to making me a better teacher and honing in on specific aspects of my craft that I really wanted to get better in. So it seemed like a good fit. You know, my colleague was doing it, and I was like, well, tell me about it. What's this thing? What's happening? And so we met for lunch and she talked to me about it, much like what we have done together. And, you know, really kind of picked apart, well, what is this going to do for me? What can I get out of it? And, you know, hopefully we'll be addressing some of those things today for your viewers so that they can walk away feeling a little bit more, you know, having a better, clear picture of what this is. So I said, all right, this looks good. Let's go. And I'm so glad that I jumped in and did this process. Yeah.
And yeah, and so for me, I applied and registered for my components for certification. And I must say that studying the 5 core propositions, which explicitly says about what we do as educators and why we do it, and examining the helix of accomplished teaching. So it's a model of the 5 core propositions, and another component or another aspect of it too. And then taking a deep dive of the standards of certification helped me anchor myself to my craft as a teacher. And would you agree with that, Erica? Will you give us an example of how this process made you a better teacher?
Absolutely. So what I love is you've brought up the model of the helix. And what I love about all of the National Board components is that they're all teacher created, right? This is done by teachers for teachers, which is a little bit different than a lot of the other kind of things that you can do. You go for a master's degree or a PhD. This is, you know, clear your credential, whatever it needs. This is done for teachers by teachers. And so the language and the vocabulary within this program and the different components is all relevant to what we're doing because it's made by people who know what they're doing, which was just, it made so much sense to me, you know, and a lot of things are done by people outside the classroom or who have been away from the classroom for a while. And that was really appealing to me, right? The language is relevant because it's made by teachers who have done this. As far as like what has it done for me as a teacher, an example of, you know, using this certification, how it's relevant. We just had teacher conferences, right? It's late in the year. We just had parent teacher conferences, and you know, I'm a 5th grade teacher at the moment, and I'm really looking for ways, of course, to make sure that all of the discussions we have with kids and family are relevant, they're anchored in data, and they're current and valid to what their students are accomplishing. And so what I took from my national board certification most recently with these conferences is that, you know, parents come to you at these conferences and they ask you these questions, you know, with such heart. How is my student doing? Are they where they're supposed to be? Are they doing okay? You know, they want that affirmation from you as a professional that they're in the right place and that they're achieving all that they can be. And for a long time in my career as a professional teacher, you know, I had this intuition that they were doing okay. Yes, they're doing fine. They're right where they should be. And my intuition was leading me to answer these parents, you know, and to allay their fears about their children. What National Board has really done for me is given me the confidence to take that intuition of what I have as a teacher, and we all kind of have it. You know, it's that little voice that says, you know, yeah, okay, this is what needs to happen, or oh, that was a really good lesson. It's because I trusted myself. Um, it's given me the confidence to say that I know where those students are because I've studied the content of what makes an accomplished teacher in middle childhood. I know what they're supposed to do before they enter my class. I know the trajectory of where they're going. National Board has provided me with that information to then see them through that journey from before my class to post 5th grade onto middle school. And I can confidently tell those parents that yes, they are where they should be.
Mhm.
And they're ready to be prepared for what's coming because I'm so familiar with the content. Accomplished teachers know their content, and National Board has prepared me for that content, right? And so I can tell these parents confidently, and I can tell the kids when they ask me, am I doing this right? Am I going to be ready for next year? And the answer is yes, because I know where they're supposed to go and I know how to get them there now, right? What National Board has done, and we've talked about this many times, is that it's given me the vocabulary to articulate my intuition,
Mhm.
right? It's, I know what makes a good lesson because I've done it and I can see I can see the light bulb in the students' eyes and I can see the joy or feel the joy in the classroom. I know what that feels like. But why does that work, right? Why is that more successful than another approach? Why is that strategy effective? And National Board really gives you the language and the vocabulary, the academic vocabulary to say, oh, I know why those students are successful. It's because I've taken the time to make that learning environment cohesive and collaborative for all my students, right? I've taken the time to look at the data, and I know that the data will see the students through the next part of this, this trajectory. And really, the going through this process gives you all those pieces of information to really to provide you with a structure that you can springboard off of as a growing professional, right? Um, Feels like a lot of buzzwords, right? But really, what it is it gives you the foundation to build your confidence as an educator. And for many of us, that confidence is what's maybe the last component of being an effective teacher, right? You feel the need to do all of these things, you know that you should, but you don't necessarily know why. And
Mhm.
that gives you the why and the how to be an effective educator. So
Erica, just listening to your example of how this has made you a better teacher. I mean, I'm already just analyzing what your response is, and I've heard evidence of yes, accomplished teachers know their content, they know their students. Accomplished teachers are a part of a learning community, like reaching out to parents and partnering with them on this journey, right, in their child's education, and reflection, right? Accomplished teachers are reflective about their strategies, their approach, their teacher moves. Does this, is this anchored to the content standards? Is this and so those illustrations of, or the illustration that you just um, uh, shared with us, I'm already seeing those aspects of the five core propositions of what accomplished teachers do. And I must say, I am so proud of myself for remembering those five core propositions right now.
but you know them, and this is what's so great about the program is that you inherently, as a great teacher, you already know that, but they give you the language to say, oh yeah, I am an accomplished teacher, and it gives you that that structure which many of us crave, as
Yeah,
teachers,
thank you.
for sure.
Um, yeah, so for me, going through that framework, I'm sorry, going through our teaching framework and the framework for all the subjects and anchoring them to the national board standards and core propositions helped me articulate what I do and why I do it with, like, yes, in a parent conference or in a setting like like a student success team setting, or when I'm talking to other members in the learning community, I'm able to articulate what I do and why I do it. And I totally agree with you that it gives us that language of being an accomplished teacher. Um, and so let me ask you if we can go a little personal here.
Sure.
We learned, you know, I invited you here because I wanted your take of your own personal journey through NBC certification, right? Or to the certification. And Erica, I want to know how this journey, um, how did, or what did you discover about yourself just as a person, right? What did you discover about yourself going through this journey? We heard the teacher part, but what about Erica, as a person?
Well,
If you don't
gosh,
mind me
so
asking.
no, 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 not at all. It's a big process to do this, right? This is not something that should be undertaken lightly, kind of on a whim, right? This should really have some solid reflection before you jump into this, right? And just to clarify what this is, National Board, right? It's a series of 4 different components. They're exercises that make you really reflect upon your teaching practice and really kind of hold you accountable to being a great teacher. And so to do this, you need to be invested in your own growth here. And it was kind of scary to start, right? It was so exciting, but a little bit scary because, when you look in the mirror, sometimes you might not always see what you want to see, right? And so looking at my practice under a microscope like this was, a little bit intense. And through this journey, looking at all of these things, looking at the assessment component and saying like, oh my gosh, I don't know this. I don't know this content. And, can I really be an effective teacher if I don't know this? That's a little bit, you're looking at maybe not the best part of yourself and saying, hey, gosh, I've been teaching this for so long and I really don't understand it the way that I feel like I should. It's like, you have to give yourself some grace there. Um, so I definitely had to learn a bit of humility as a teacher
Mhm.
and seeing, gosh, I don't know how to do this. I've been teaching for 15 years and I don't know how to do this. Like it was a little bit unsettling at some moments. But ultimately with the growth factor in mind, thinking about how I would treat one of my own students in my classroom if they came across a challenge like this. Um, but the other piece that I would say as part of this journey is that, gosh, did I find a community of people that I can rely on, right? Like, gosh, did I find that, people in my life, my colleagues, my principal, my family, my sister, I mean, my nieces, people that I didn't expect to help me on this journey were there to be that cheerleader for me. And it was just simply saying like, gosh, I'm going through this process. It's really hard, but I'm trying to be a better teacher. And the response from the community about that willingness to go the extra mile for the community's children was really encouraging. And to say like, gosh, she's in the midst of everything that she's doing. She has the commitment to do this for our kids in our community. And that was really humbling as well, right? To see the support from other people outside the community to say like, well, what is this? What are you doing? Oh my gosh, that sounds crazy, but I'm so glad you're doing it. All of that, right? So the spectrum of really looking at myself and going, oh, I am not strong in this area, and wow, in order to be a really good teacher, I need to be, and really investing the time to do that in the midst of being a teacher and teaching my, regular teaching load at the same time, of course. And then also having the community of other teachers at my school and, in the larger community to say like, gosh, you're doing that. That's really amazing. That's really amazing. And that's inspiring for me, as an educator and also as, a parent or as a student,
Yeah.
right? Having my students say like, you're doing what? You're a teacher and you're volunteering to take a test? Are you crazy? Right? Like that was amazing to see that with my students. Like, why would you do that? Well, I'm doing that to be better. Oh, you want to be a better teacher, like having my students see that was really an incredible process. So
You're a walking testimony of what it is to be human.
mm,
You're thinking about where your area of need is and where you can grow, but you're also inspiring people around you through this process of, wow, like, why would she do that? tell me more about that.
Yeah.
So you're a walking testimony of being a person who lives and who grows, and I'm getting
It's
a
really
little
kind of you to
emotional.
say. That's so kind of you to say.
You're
I have to say,
inspiration.
Esther, the best part of this process,
Yeah.
honestly, I was teaching third grade at the time when I went through this process.
Mm,
And the best part was sharing it with my students
mm,
and saying, okay, guys, here's what I'm doing. Do we do this in our classroom? You know, getting feedback from students and going through the learning process with students. So much of the time we facilitate their learning, but we forget how much as teachers, they facilitate our learning, right?
mm.
And so going through that process with them together was
That's
just one of my favorite teaching experiences of my whole career. I mean, really, I can
good.
say.
Yeah. Thank you.
Of course.
So before we wrap up, let's talk about some tips and advice that you would like to share with this learning community who want to pursue NBC. And I just also want to put it out there in California, because we're in California, we do have a nice stipend attached to the certification. So that's really nice that you're getting this monetary compensation for putting in all that work. But we're not in this to make money. If we were in a business to make money, we'd go into business.
We're in the wrong.
But it's nice that you're rewarded with a
Mhm.
stipend in that way. And if you're across this nation, look into what monetary reward or stipend is attached to your national board certification in your state. But Erica, what other advice and tips and information would you like to share before we wrap up?
So if you're interested in pursuing national board certification, I have a couple of just having gone through it, just a couple of quick things to share. The first thing I would recommend is that you go on the national board site and download just those 5 core propositions and
And
see
just
if that.
just to interrupt real quick, Erica, while you mentioned that, audience, I will put a link on the description uh, area on the YouTube site. So look for
Great,
that. Okay,
great. So
Erica.
you'll be able to click on that link.
Okay, yeah.
Efficient, I love it. That, look at the website. It's a little bit overwhelming at first, but just look at those 5 core propositions and see, does that language speak to you? Because if it doesn't, it's maybe not the right thing for you. But if it does speak to you as a professional, and how it can help you grow your profession, start there, and see. A lot of the information can be downloaded from the national board site without an investment at first, right? So there is an investment that is required to pursue this certification. But you can read through the content and read through the material for free. You just download it and start to see and investigate for yourself. Get curious about what this is and start reading the literature. And if you find yourself going through the literature going, oh, wait, I do that. Yeah, uh-huh, yeah, oh, that's me, right? Then that is, kind of maybe your signpost that this is the right thing for you to do. And I guarantee that most teachers who are interested in professional reflection will have some of those moments where they're like, oh, yeah, wait, oh, yes, I do this. So that would be my first thing, is to just go on the website, look at the different certifications. There's 25 different certifications that you can choose from. And so you'll find the one that best fits and is most specifically created for your area of passion or your area of expertise. I know, Esther, that we will be certifying in different areas, right? I'm certified in middle childhood generalist, which is for this idea of kind of upper grades in elementary school to early middle school. And you're more of a primary teacher, which focuses on
Oh,
that early. Yeah.
yes, I signed up for the early childhood generalist.
Which is wonderful that you can specify, that clearly of what your area of expertise is.
Mhm.
And so take a look and see, and read through some of the literature to see if any of this is appealing to you. I would say that would be the first step. The second step is, if you're interested, if it's piqued your interest enough, to check out one of their kind of informational sessions. Both the National Board site has informational resources of what, more information on what it is. And then your local district might have something. As Esther said, we're in California, we're part of LAUSD, the Los Angeles Unified School District, where they have a large cohort of teachers who pursue this, and they have some more specific information. So maybe your district can support you in attaining this certification. Look and see what your local area provides. And then the last piece of kind of advice is, buddy up. Find someone who, if it's possible, you can do it together. This is a journey kind of best taken with friends or colleagues. And, if you can find someone that you can do it with together, that you can meet once a week to get together and, decompress from your teaching week and then get to work and hold each other accountable, I really think that will be beneficial to this process. We often, as teachers, have so many priorities that our own priorities as professional educators are often the last on the list. The essays that you need to grade come first, and then our professional growth is probably at the bottom. But having a buddy on this journey who can really, or even just someone that can hold you accountable for your completion of tasks for this will be really, really helpful in accomplishing this goal of becoming a National Board Certified Teacher.
Thank you, Erica.
Sure.
So thank you, teachers out there, for tuning in and joining Teachers Help Teachers on National Board Certification. And I'll see you again on the next episode. Thank you, Erica.
Thank you.